Good morning, students. We will start now. Okay, so let us find out what kind of questions are asked based on the propositional logic in different university question papers. So, a few problems we solved yesterday. This is 2018 question paper. First question is itself based on propositional logic. Prove the following theorem using a natural deduction system. So given sentence is A implies B and B implies C implies A implies C. Okay, so this is transitivity law, right? Okay, so this is based on theorem proving. So let us prove this. Okay, before solving that problem, I want to clear one thing. Yesterday I was continuously talking about premises and conclusion, right? But then later I had a doubt that whether you know what is premise and conclusion, because I think I missed this part while explaining this. So on the Monday's lecture we discuss about this, right? So syntax of propositional logic. There we see that if S and R are sentences, then S implies R is also a sentence. Okay, so in this implication, S is a premise, okay, and R is known as a conclusion. Okay, so remember, whatever is the left part of the implication is known as a premise, okay, and the right part is known as a conclusion. And what was happening in the problem that we solved, see, this were the premises and this was the conclusion. Okay, so we had, so P or Q, P implies R and Q implies R implies R. This is our bigger implication, okay, and these are the given premises, and we wanted to conclude whether this premise derives R or not. Okay, so remember, this is the meaning of premises. Okay, and we consider this implication to be a tautological implication. That means all the premises will be true. Okay, so these are the given facts. Okay, and facts will be true, and then based on that we try to come up with this conclusion, whether we can conclude this or not. Okay, so that is the clarification about premises and conclusion. So let us solve that problem, that is based on transitivity law. Okay, so what is the given sentence? So A implies B and B implies C. Okay, and then we have to prove that A implies C. This is a transitivity law, right? Now let us prove this by a resolution. Okay, so this will become premise 1, premise 2, and this is our conclusion. Okay, now first step in resolution algorithm is that you have to simplify the premises, right? You have to convert them into the CNF form. Okay, so now first premise will become like this, right? This is implication elimination rule. Okay, this is my fact number 1. Then similarly our premise number 2 is like this. Okay, step number 2 is you have to negate the conclusion. Okay, so this is what A, right? This implication is equivalent to this, right? I have to negate that. Okay, so negation of that thing. Okay, so this is my negated conclusion, that is also added in the premises. Okay, now let us apply the resolution law here. Okay, so now as you can see, resolution law, let us revise the resolution law. So this is the resolution law: alpha or beta not of beta or gamma implies alpha or gamma. Okay, so beta is having a opposite sign. Okay, so here we have b with the opposite sign. Okay, so that will get resolved, so we'll get negation of a or c, right? Now if you replace this with r, okay, so here we are having a negation of r. Okay, so that means it is a contradiction. Okay, so our assumption is wrong, so this implies this thing, which is nothing but a implies c, which is proved, right? So this is how you can solve that problem. It is for 2 marks only. So next thing is okay, so this is third question is based on predicate calculus. Okay, this is based on first order logic, which is our next topic that we'll solve later on. This question number 11 is again based on the first order logic. Okay, so only one question based on predicate logic. Okay, so moving on to the next question paper. Heuristic function, rationality, then problem solving agent. FOPL stands for first order predicate logic, which is our next topic. Okay, next, yes, here we have a question based on propositional logic. Convert the following propositional logic statement into CNF. Okay, so we have seen steps to convert the given sentence into the CNF. Let us solve this problem. Okay, so given sentence is A implies B biconditional C. Okay, so let me write A implies B equivalent C. Okay, now we remember the steps of conversion to CNF. First you have to eliminate biconditional, then eliminate implication, then remove negation. Okay, so you have to move this negation inwards. Okay, and finally apply the distributive law. There are 4 steps, so let us apply. Okay, so first we will remove the biconditional. So this is equivalent to A implies, so we know the biconditional elimination rule, right? So this is equivalent to this thing, right? Okay, so now remove the implication now. Okay, first we will remove this implication, so this will become negation of B or C and negation of C or B. Okay, now we will remove this implication now. So negation of A or bigger bracket, inside that not of B or C and not of C or B. Okay, now here we have to distribute this OR. Okay, so we will have negation of A or negation of B or C. So when we have similar precedence operator, you can drop the brackets. Okay, so this will become one term, and then this OR is distributed over this AND. So AND will come in the middle. Okay, and then negation of A or negation of C or B, and this is in CNF form. CNF is equivalent to what? Is POS, right? Product of sum. Okay, so here this is a sum term, this is a sum term, and product of that, so product of sum. Okay, so this is in CNF form. So this is the solution. Okay, please make a note of this. Okay, then so again we have a question based on first order logic. Okay, that's it. Next question. Next question paper. Question number 1E is again based on first order logic. 2C is based on conversion of conversion to CNF. Okay, it is similar kind of expression, so you can solve that. Then again question based on first order logic. That's it. Then I want to discuss some theoretical questions also. So here question B is again, sorry, this is gold test. Question E is again conversion to CNF. I think this is similar, same expression. Yes. See the question number 6.3. Okay. How will you convert the propositional logic statement into CNF? Give a suitable example at each step. Example is given here itself. You can write the same example and convert it to CNF, and you have to write the steps to convert the given sentence into CNF. Okay, so you can write those 4 steps, okay, which is given in the PPT, right? Next. Okay, again same question. How will you convert the propositional logic statement into CNF? Okay, so this is Mumbai University question paper of 2018. So here as you can see, differentiate between forward and backward chaining. This is our today's topic. Okay, so differentiate between forward and backward chaining. So then explain resolution by refutation with suitable example. Okay, so here you have to explain the resolution algorithm. Okay, so you write that law, okay, and you write the steps. First you have to convert the given premises into the CNF forms, okay, and then you have to apply resolution, and you have to give a suitable example. So you can take an example of our modus ponens, and you prove this. Okay, so these are the given premises, okay, and then apply the resolution law, and you can derive beta. Okay, so you have to remember one example, or you can directly prove the laws. Okay, and last thing I want to discuss, here, what is the predicate logic, and enlist the advantages of predicate logic over propositional logic. Okay, so we have seen 2 such questions. Differentiate between propositional logic and predicate logic, and here they are asking advantage of predicate logic over propositional logic. Okay, so till now we have studied only propositional logic. Okay, so here I can represent sentences like students have opted for artificial intelligence. Okay, but what if I have a statement like few of the students opted for AI? Okay, now how to represent that sentence using propositional logic, right? So those are the limitations of propositional logic. In predicate logic, you are going to see some operators like for all, for some, right? Existential operator. Using those you can represent such statements. Okay, so this we will see later on. Okay, so this kind of questions are asked based on propositional logic. Okay, so we'll resume our chapter. Okay, so we have solved 3 problems yesterday. Okay, so Wumpus World revisited. Okay, so now I will apply the same rules, okay, that we studied yesterday, and to prove, I will try to prove there is no pit at location 1, 2. So 1, 2 is this location. They are using column first. Okay, so this is my 1, 2. I want to prove that there is no pit at this location. Okay, so we are going to see how our agent is concluding whether there is we are going to see how our agent will determine that there is no pit at location 1, 2. Okay, And we have seen this partial knowledge base that our agent has created. So he has moved from location 1 comma 1 to 2 comma 2 here. Okay, now he knows that there is no pit at location 1 comma 1, there is no breeze at 1 comma 1, and there is breeze at 2 comma 1. Okay, so these are the known facts. Okay, facts known to our agent, and these are the knowledge he has acquired. If breeze is felt at location 1 comma 1, definitely there will be a pit at nearby location, that is 1 comma 2 and 2 comma 2. And if he feels breeze at 2 comma 1, there should be a pit nearby, that is at 1 comma 1, 2 comma 2 and 3 comma 1. Okay, so this is my partial knowledge base. From that I want to determine that there is no pit at this location. Okay, so I want this variable which is present in R2 sentence. Okay, so let us apply the biconditional elimination rule there. Okay, so if I remove the biconditional, so I will get b1 comma 1 implies this, and this implies b1 comma 1, right? So this is our biconditional elimination rule. Now I can apply AND elimination rule here. Okay, so this can be removed. Okay, so this is my premises 1 and premises 2, both are true. Okay, so I can remove one of the premise. Okay, so this is removed. Okay, this is AND elimination rule. Okay, now okay, so here I can apply a contrapositive rule. Okay, so what is contrapositive rule? So alpha tends to beta, this is equivalent to negation of beta implies negation of alpha. Okay, so negation of b 1 comma 1 implies negation of this left side part. Now this is a tautological implication, right? So this is true, we know that this is true, right? There is no breeze at 1 comma 1, that implies that this right hand side part is also true. Okay, conclusion is also true, so this is true. Okay, and if you move this and inward, you will get this one, and this is equals to true. Okay, that means this part is true and this part is true. Okay, so there is no pit at 1 comma 2 and there is no pit at 2 comma 1, hence proved. Okay, we have discussed all these rules in yesterday's class. Okay, if you see AND elimination. Okay, if you have two terms, okay, you can eliminate one term. Okay, and then we have seen double negation, implication elimination rule. Okay, and then yes, and contrapositive is here. Yes, contrapositive, alpha tends to beta is equivalent to beta, negation of beta implies negation of alpha. Okay, so this is how our agent will infer new things. Okay, now next topic is a definite clause and horn clause. Okay, so now these are different forms of the sentence. Okay, now this forms will put some restriction on your knowledge base. Okay, so by these clauses what we are saying that all the sentences in our knowledge base should follow these forms. Okay, so we are putting a restriction on the knowledge base, and because of that restriction our inference algorithm will become efficient. Okay, so it will be easier for our inference algorithm to infer new things. Okay, so this horn clause and definite clause are the forms of sentences which enables knowledge base to use more restricted and efficient inference algorithms. Okay, so let us see what is definite clause. A clause which is disjunction of literals. Okay, so disjunction of literals, so it will be in this form. Okay, so A, B, C are the literals and disjunction of literals with exactly one positive literal. Positive literal means what? P is positive and negation of P is negative. Okay, so definite clause says that a clause in which which is a disjunction of literals with exactly one positive literal. Okay, so in the clause there should be exactly one positive literal, others should be negative. Okay, then this clause will be a definite clause. Okay, so you are putting a restriction there. Now what do you mean by horn clause? Okay, so this is the relaxed version of definite clause. It says a clause which is a disjunction of literals with at most one positive literal, at most one. ओके, सो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा एक पॉजिटिव लिटरल हो सकता है या फिर ज़ीरो भी हो सकता है. ओके, सो दैट मीन्स दिस इज़ अ हॉर्न क्लॉज बिकॉज वी हैव वन पॉजिटिव लिटरल and this is also a horn clause. Okay, so not A or not B or not C, all literals are negative. Okay, so this is a horn clause. Okay, but this is not a definite clause. Definite says exactly one. Exactly means definite. Okay, now this is the example of horn clause or definite clause. So here we have only one positive literal K. Okay, so now all the definite clause will be the horn clause, right? But reverse is not true. Okay, so now behind the scene what is happening? So if I simplify this, so if I take a negation common, so this will become, this is Q or K. Let me rewrite this. Okay, so if I take not common, so I have to apply a reverse of De Morgan's law or K, and this is nothing but P and Q implies K, right? So what is P and Q? These are the two premises and these are true, right? So if P and Q are true, then we can conclude K. Okay, so this is the scenario behind this definite clause and horn clause. That means if this negated literals, if they are true, then positive literal can be concluded. Okay, so see, it is equivalent to, this expression is equivalent to P and Q implies K. Okay, now so we are going to study these two algorithms, that is forward chaining and backward chaining, and for applying this your all sentences should be in horn clause. Okay, that is the primary requirement. That's why we studied definite clause and horn clause. So they assume that your sentences are in horn clause. Okay, that means all the each premise is a disjunction of literals where you have only at most one positive literal. Okay, like this. Now let us see forward chaining algorithm. It determines if a single proposition symbol Q is entailed by a knowledge base of definite clause. Okay, so we'll see the example first and we'll come back. Okay, so I have pasted the algorithm here also, and this is our example. Here A and B are the known facts, so they are true, and we want to conclude Q. Okay, for time being you ignore this diagram. Okay, so now we will apply forward chaining algorithm on this example. Okay, so A and B are true. These are our different horn clauses. These are all horn clauses, right? And we want to conclude Q from this. Okay, so let us find out. So it determines if a single proposition symbol Q, which is capital Q in this example, the query, is entailed by the knowledge base of definite clause. All are definite clauses. It begins from the known facts. Okay, positive literals in the knowledge base. We'll start with A and B. Okay, if all premises of any implication are known, then its conclusion is added into the known facts. Okay, so I will maintain a set of known facts. Initially A and B will be there. Okay, and if all the premises of the implications are known, then I will add conclusion to this known facts. Okay, so now let us find out the implication where all the premises are known. So here we have an implication where A is known and B is known, right? So we will add its conclusion in the known facts. Okay, so L will become known. Okay, now again it is a recursive process, so we will again find out the implication where the premises are known. So B is known and L is just recently known, right? Okay, so both are known, so I will add M to the known facts. Okay, again now L is known and M is known now, so I will add P. Okay, now P is also known. Okay, add Q. Okay, so now Q became known, hence proved. Okay, so Q will also be true. Okay, because all the implications are tautological implications. Okay, because as their premises are true, conclusion will be true. So Q is true and Q is derived. Okay, so from this diagram let us see. Now initially A is known, B is known. Okay, so we say that L is also known. Now see this implication is represented by this arc. Okay, so we have implication this B and L implies M. So L is known, B is known, so M is known. Okay, now we have this implication. Okay, L and M implies P. L is known, P, M is known, so P is known. Okay, as P is known, Q is known. Okay, so this is how forward chaining works. Okay, so you go in bottom up fashion. Okay, this process continues until Q is added or until no further inference can be made. Okay, so first part shows the success and second part shows the failure case. Okay, so Q is added, hence proved. Okay, so this is forward chaining. Now let us talk about backward chaining. This is the reverse process. Okay, so let us see how this works. If the Q is known to be true, then no work is needed. Okay, so if again consider the same example, I want to prove Q, but Q is unknown, right? So first part is false. Okay, Q is known to be true, this is false, move forward. Otherwise the algorithm finds those implication in the knowledge base whose conclusion is Q. Okay, so find out all the implication whose conclusion means right side part is Q. That okay, only this implication has Q in the right part. Okay, right hand side part. Okay, so we have found out that implication. If all the premises of one of those implications can be proved true, then we can say that Q is true. Okay, so what we are doing here, we are going in backward direction. We are starting with the thing which we want to conclude. Okay, and we going backward. Okay, so so in that implication premises is P. Now find out the implication whose conclusion is P. So which is this one. Okay, so let me explain through this example. Same example. Known facts are represented by red circles. We are starting with Q. We have visited Q, that's why it is shown with the filled circle. Now it is present in this implication, P implies Q. Okay, so let us find out all the implication where we have P as the conclusion. Okay, so this is this implication, L and M implies P. Okay, so L and M. Now L is present in the conclusion part of two implications, this one and this one. Okay, now for L both the premises are true, right? So L is proved. Okay, so see here, L is proved. Now for M, L is proved and B is proved, so M is also proved. Okay, then P is proved and Q is proved. Okay, so how we approach in backward chaining? So we found out all the implications involved to prove this Q. Okay, and we come to that particular implication where we know that all the premises are true. Okay, then we recurse, okay, and we will come to the conclusion. So I think the difference is clear to you. In forward chaining we started with the known facts, okay, and proceed forward. But in backward chaining we started with the conclusion that we want to prove, and we have found out all the implication involved in that, and we proved all those implications. Okay, so this concludes the propositional logic part. Okay, so any doubt?